You are listening to the Wildlife Photography Podcast with Rob Reed and Josh Galicki, bringing together the love of nature and photography. Episode 38. We talk about life on the road with a special guest. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Wildlife Photography Podcast with me, Rob Reed, and my co-host Josh Galicki. And today, as you will have seen from the podcast title, we are joined by a special guest, Ray Hennessy. But before we get to Ray, I just wanted to say a big thank you to our people that have actually bought us a coffee. I said, if you've listened to the last episode, we started a Buy Me a Coffee page where if you feel like it, you can say thank you for the podcast, and as the website says, buy us a coffee, donate a few pounds, whatever. This is purely voluntary, obviously. If you don't want to do it, that's absolutely fine. If you want to say thank you, it'd be much appreciated. And thank you to Simon, Mark and Andrew, who all kindly donated and bought us a coffee. So that's greatly appreciated. So thank you guys for that. And as I said, we always do this for free. There's no obligation, so it's not a sales pitch. Just there's a link in the description, as they say in the show notes. And if you want to say thanks, then great. If not, that's absolutely fine. But anyway, enough of that. Josh, how you doing?
Doing well, Rob.
Yeah,
good to see you again.
Yeah, and anything, you've been out shooting at all, or you?
It's this weird time of year, I mean, things are moving out.
This is just like
yes, this is true, yeah. But weird time of year.
Honestly, Ray, he does this all the time, right? It's this time of year. I've not been out. Come on.
But yeah, it's kind of like that. Most of our songbirds are moving out. They're hard to photograph. The ducks aren't in yet, and whatever ducks are here, they're not really in peak plumage. So yeah, some herons and some things, some osprey are moving through. I haven't been able to shoot a lot of migration stuff. Actually, I've been working mostly on prints. I'm refilling print stocks, and I'm doing some framing and stuff, which is a whole thing in and of itself. I'm trying to work with like cutting wood, putting paper in all that stuff. I'm getting better at it actually, but it's a whole other discipline. It's frankly a little scary, but I'm improving here and there.
But
so
honestly,
that's been my push for the past couple
isn't
weeks.
Isn't it the best thing, right? When you get this print coming out of the machine, I don't do it often enough, but when you actually print your work and you hold it in your hands in a piece of paper and it's not on a screen, isn't that the best feeling in the world?
It is, but the worst feeling is knowing you have to frame it after printer.
Well, you get
that's rewarding in and of itself. But it's just crazy because you get everything set, you have it, you're ready to go, and then you see the little hair or the little dust spot, and
don't.
And these acrylic. Yeah,
and the worst thing is if you've checked it already, and then you've done all the tape and all that sort of stuff, and then you spot it, and then once you've seen it, you can't unsee it.
No,
it's like
and then you have to rip it off and all. Yeah, it's but that's been consuming my time outside of work recently.
You need a dust-free environment. That's what you need.
I know. I even spoke to this lady at Michael's. She does framing, down the road here, and she tells me they just use an air compressor. So I actually bought one. Well, something much smaller than what they have, but there's always like one or two things, and it takes 3 or 4 times, and then but I get it eventually.
I've got an air compressor. I'd never even thought of it. Wow.
Yeah, that's what they use.
I shall remember it. Anyway, enough of that. Welcome, Ray Hennessy, to the podcast. It's good to see you. We've been trying
here, guys.
Sort this out for a while, so I'm really glad we got you on. So
yeah. Thanks so much for having me. And I gotta say, I got to back up Josh on it. It is a weird time of year here. I never liked September, end of September into October in this area. Always tough because I'm actually kind of in your area now, Josh.
Yeah, you're not far.
Yeah. Well, and this is what we wanted to talk about because how long's it been since you've been sort of traveling the States in your van now?
4 years.
4 years? Is it
4
really?
years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Jeez.
I'd say the first year I don't fully count because that was the year I was like really figuring it out. That was when I was, stationed. I'm actually here in Southern New Jersey at my mom's house right now, just visiting. I'm getting ready to get back on the road again. And that first year was kind of based out of here, where I would go out for a day or two and then come back to home base. And it was really nice having a home base, either here or at my sister's in Florida or at Emily and her family in Hilton Head. So that first year was really kind of figuring out, but so I could say 3 full years on the road, but I was still doing it that first year and starting to move around and traveling and stuff like that. And yeah, I see no end in sight. I can tell you that.
And if you hear the dog barking in the background, Sky always makes an appearance. It wouldn't be the podcast without a Sky interruption at some point. Anyway, so I'm just interested. What sort of drove you to do it? If you pardon the pun, drove you to do it in the first place?
Yeah, it was an interesting way it happened. I had a lot of big life changes all at once. I got divorced, and I was starting to just travel more, just friends that I'd met through Instagram and other photographers were reaching out. They were extending invitations, if you're ever in the area. So I started taking people up on it. And so that was how I got to Alaska the first time, and out to Utah with Marianne Karen to check out the Great Salt Lake and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was already starting to travel more than I ever had in my life. I was 40 years old and had never really explored that much, just kind of home based along the East Coast of the US. And so I started enjoying that, which was the start of it. And then it was time to just decide what to do and where I wanted to be. And I kind of realized at one point, there's nothing tying me to New Jersey anymore. I didn't love the condo where I was living. I had owned the condo, but I was like, I don't really need to be here anymore. And so, guys, it really was no more than just, well, I've always thought it might be fun to live on the road in a van. Let's go look into one. I went to the first dealership, saw a used one, bought it, didn't even test drive it.
Oh man,
bought it.
Pretty confiding of you.
Yeah, I just, I was like, it was all kind of just a quick decision. I didn't even know what to look for. You know what I mean? I was just kind of like, all I knew was I wanted to buy a van from a company that makes them, not like a home built kit. So at least if I needed repairs, I could go to different dealerships around the country and stuff like that, and not have to call up some random person and be like, yo, what's wrong with this? And then it couldn't get fixed. And that was my biggest concern. And so it was actually during a trip to Alaska. I was just getting ready to do that. Bought the van. They needed like a month to get it ready. I went to Alaska, came back, got in the van, and that was it.
Wow.
And
You never
away I
looked
went.
I can't believe it's been
back.
4 years already. It seems like,
I know, right?
Not that long, certainly, from following you.
Yeah.
All these. Wow, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah, it goes quick. Yeah.
But it's funny.
We're on our
isn't it?
second van now.
Yeah, because life just sort of throws up these opportunities, doesn't it? Sometimes, or opens these doors for you, and
Totally.
You either embrace it and walk through it, or you let it close behind you and just move on. And I applaud you for that, for walking through that door and taking that chance.
I really am glad you brought that up. That's really one of the things I like to try and share about this, is just for every photographer listening, but just really anybody. Like, honestly, it sounds so cliche, but legit, just follow your dreams, follow your wishes. Because like I can say, 44 years old, I'm the happiest I've been in my life. I really am. And it's just such a fulfilling way to live. I love how connected to nature I am. And, if you asked me even 5 years ago, a year before that, if I would be living this way, it wasn't even crossing my mind. Right. But things lined up and I thought, why not? Let's try it. What's the worst that can happen? If it doesn't work out, and just go back and find another place to settle down. Right. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where, I grew up camping and hunting and fishing and just always connected. So I kind of had an idea that I would connect with it, but I didn't realize how much I would connect with it and how much I love it. And just, I can't see, at least right now, I can't see a future not doing this.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That was one of my questions, actually, was to, where do you see the future? I mean, I'm assuming, therefore, it's just an extension of what you've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years.
Absolutely, Rob. It really is. Like Emily and I love to not plan stuff as much as possible with our travels. That's why the more used to this we've gotten, the more we've understand how to live this way, the easier it's gotten, and it allows us to not plan things, to not schedule things as much as possible. Some things have to be scheduled, but when we get chunks of, a couple months where we can just be on the road, no campsite scheduled, we just get to stay in free public lands as long as we want and just move on when we're ready. That's where we want to be as much as possible. And so just like that, the rest of our life, we're not really planning ahead. It's just kind of, let's see how all this goes. And, if we tire of it, if either of us tires of it, we'll have to talk about it and make a change. But now
it takes the stress away probably too. Like whenever I travel, time management is the number one stressor, right? Yeah. In terms of trying to stick to a schedule and everything else, that's probably a good thing, actually. Not having
and you know what, Josh, the biggest thing that I think most people, myself included, didn't understand about this style of travel is, usually when you think about traveling, it's just like, packing your stuff up, taking it with you, going someplace, living out of a suitcase, that kind of thing. This is not that at all. We have everything we own with us everywhere we go all the time. We have food, we have a bathroom, we have a shower with it everywhere we go. And so this travel, compared to the times when I do have to fly, every time I have to fly, I'm like, oh gosh, I got to pack up and take something. Like it feels like a hassle, So it's very different than that style of living because it's just all right here. Everything I own is in this van that I'm recording this in right now.
And then you're relying on outside influences, aren't you? When you actually want to get on a plane, So you could be like Josh was when he went to Shetland, fog bound in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
I seem to remember.
It happens.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Ray, let me ask you, your first year when you started the van life, were you in the business full time of wildlife photography, or were you transitioning into that? I can't remember.
I started in 2019. That was when I shot my last wedding. November end of it, I guess. The beginning of 2020. November 2019, shot my last wedding. And then I guess it was later in 2020 or 2021 that I bought the first van. So I was a couple years in, but it was still growing. It was definitely growing. It was those first few years of doing it full time were definitely New Jersey based, a little bit smaller stuff, not quite the destinations that I'm doing now. So that's been the biggest change in transition, but I was full time when I went for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that would have been about the time of COVID then, wouldn't it? When you bought the van, and so quite good timing, really, I guess, in a way.
Not good time on the pricing because everybody was doing the van thing. The prices skyrocketed. I bought it at a horrible time for that first one, but
so you've had like more than one van now. I take it.
So as Emily started spending more time with me and realized she loved it, and we were both gonna just be living this way, we joke and we say that first one was my bachelor van, and it really was in that concept. It was just, I had stuff strapped all over the place in here. It was kind of a mess. And so we also knew we wanted to upgrade. The first van didn't have a really good battery power system. It was always like a gamble of, can you get away with using the microwave 3 times today? Or we're going to run the battery down. And so that was like a big thing we really wanted to change, was we need a good power system. We don't want to be, worrying about that all the time. And so she knew she was all in. And so we pulled our resources together. We got rid of that old van and we got a brand new one that we're in now, which is definitely more high end. I mean, this thing costs more than my condo costs, but it is fully self-sufficient. Like, we never connect, we never plug in, we never connect to in camp. Even when we go to a campground, we never hook up the van. It's just fully self-sufficient. Yeah.
Wow.
And so we really do love to boondock. We love going, especially when we're out west, living on public lands and just staying out in nature in these beautiful places where we want to do photography and hike and bike and all that kind of stuff. And it's just literally in your back door.
Yeah. Do you have to pay when you stay in those parks or no? Or is it free in terms of this?
No, that's why I spend more time out west and up in places in Canada. Like Newfoundland's amazing for it, and everywhere out west, it's all free public lands, So in the US, it's some national forest land, a lot of BLM lands and stuff like that. And there's apps, there's all the people that do this. there's an app you hop on. The main one we use is called iOverlander, and you just go in there and you're like, I'm going to this area, and you look up and it's like all these places that people have stayed, and they give reviews, and so you kind of get an idea of where you want to stay and where you can find a place to empty your tanks and get fresh water and stuff like that. So we kind of rely on those sort of apps that everybody shares the stuff in.
Yeah.
Because I kind of never really thought about, the problem with power, because obviously, living conventionally, you just plug your stuff in and you charge it up and whatever. But you have to, well, presumably when you first, kicked off with this, you had to plan ahead and go, right, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I need the battery power for X, Y, and Z, and I need to fill up with fresh water, and I need to empty whatever has been building up. So all that needs to take some planning. Yeah. No.
And it still does, but this one just does it better. Power we don't worry about anymore. It's just electric is on in here all the time. I run the satellite internet plugged in all the time. We just always have power. Just
right, because that was the other thing.
So
I mean,
nice.
obviously, is the internet we all take for granted, I guess, and
Yeah.
having a fixed line, but you have to rely on mobile, presumably.
Yeah, I did 2 years of, anytime I had a meeting, we're staying in this beautiful place. I want to be there, but there's no cell signal. Got to drive into the nearest town. Hope there's a good signal. Oh, there isn't. Now I got to go over here. It was a huge pain. I did not like that. And now with the satellite thing, it's just great. We get to stay out in these remote places, and all I need is just open sky, and I'm good to go. Yeah.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Is it Starlink, Ray? Is that what you use?
It is. Yeah. Yeah, and they have the tiny one now. It's the Starlink Mini. It just sits in our dash half the time, or if that's not getting a good signal, I just plug it in outside. And oddly enough, here, like my mom's Wi-Fi is so slow, I'm on the satellite right now.
Is that right?
So it's better than like her home internet.
Yeah,
sounds like ours.
Yeah,
honestly,
it is.
We can get a faster connection using 4G than we can using the fiber. Honestly, it's ridiculous. But anyway,
the first time I ever was just in the middle of nowhere, and we hooked up, and I'm doing remote calls and stuff with my mentorship students and recording podcasts and stuff like that. I'm like, this is incredible, and it's just so nice. I get to stay closer to the nature that I want to be near. That's what it's all about.
Yeah,
that's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah, and we all know you don't realize how much you rely on these connections. It's just like, when I used to do these sort of live presentations, I was always concerned about, is the internet going to hold up, because you're streaming video and audio and everything else. And and everybody else is relying on you. And of course, fortunate. Well, actually what I used to do is I used to have a wireless router, and I used to plug into the mobile because it was more reliable than,
that's what I did a lot of.
Hardwired connection. It's crazy.
Wow.
Totally.
Can you remember the first trip you did in the van?
Ooh. I don't know if I can. Like the first, you mean like the
what was
first
the first memorable trip you did in the van then? Let's rephrase.
The first memorable trip was the first time going across the country, driving across the US in the van, taking it from, New Jersey all the way out to the Pacific coast and seeing it. Actually, I guess that's not true. The first time I did it, I only went to Utah. I drove it out to the Great Salt Lake and then came back. So close enough. But that was when I realized the potential of this lifestyle, like that really was it. Because up until then it was kind of that first year of bouncing around the East Coast of the US and kind of, always knowing, all right, in 3 days, I'm going to be at my sister's house, or in 4 days, I'm going to be back at my mom's house, or just always being able to have a home base, and kind of, cutting that cord and just going, all right, we're just going out on our own now and relying on just ourselves and finding the places we need to live that way. That was the first most memorable trip, and it made you realize kind of how easy it was, and it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be, and how exciting it was to see all this new stuff, and to connect it all to photography. One of the best things I love about living this way is all the sort of accidental stuff I stumble into to photograph. I'll share this story. We spent the summer up in Newfoundland for 2 months up there, and we drive back into the US. And the first night we're actually going to visit some friends of Emily's in the Boston area. And so we get into Maine. It's too far to drive all the way to Boston. So we hop on the app and look for a place to stop. We find there's this like little parking area, just a small parking lot on the side of this lake, just in some random town in Maine. No, I don't even know where we were. So we pull in there, shut the shades down, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, just naturally, because we're on that kind of wake up with sunrise schedule and go to bed at sunset. Wake up and I just look out the back window, and this lake is just glowing with the low fog. There's ducks swimming all around it. They're all American black ducks, super tolerant too, because it's like in this neighborhood, like this town.
Wow.
And the sky is dramatic. And here's the other best part, right? Just like every piece of camera gear is sitting right back here. So I just grab whatever I want and just jump out and start taking these photos. And they're like some of my favorite photos I've taken in months. And it was just completely unplanned. Like we had no idea.
So a lot of your portfolio is incidental, as you're saying, right? You're just driving around and you see something and it's not planned out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, a lot of people ask me that now, because I used to be so sort of, and I preached this on the podcast a lot, which was like, let's plan a shot. Let's really make it happen. But Josh, I do so much of that during my workshop season. Everything with that is very planned, very scouted out, research like crazy. So the rest of the time, I kind of just enjoy just letting it happen the way it's going to happen.
Refreshing almost, probably, right? Because
it is. It's a little bit of like a tie-in to like, I don't know if you guys were this way, but like when you first started, because you didn't know how to plan anything. So all you did was pick up your camera and wander out. That's all we did, right? And so it kind of feels like that again, except I have a lot more experience and hopefully I can do something better than I could then.
Well, we've talked about this before, haven't we, Josh? And I think, for my own photography, that's what I like the best. I don't like, I mean, to a certain degree, you've got to plan, particularly if you're going somewhere specifically to photograph something. Like we were chatting before we started recording that, I'm off up to Norfolk, in a few days because I want to, there's a certain thing happening and at a certain time of year. I've never seen it. I want to see it. Am I planning particular shots? No, not really. I'm going to just roll with it and see what happens. And that's the way my photography has been. I don't generally like to plan too much, other than perhaps where I'm going. I just let it happen. And I think that way your photography kind of it says a little bit more about you. It expresses your personality a little bit more than having something predefined in your mind before you. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's really what you're trying to get at is that it's just completely unplanned. You just photograph what you come across, and I just find it more surprising that way.
My best shots are the shots in my local patch that I know that I can plan for. But what I don't enjoy them always, though, as much as the newer experiences, right? Where you come across things and it's just whatever shows up in front of your lens. You don't have any expectations. And when it's kind of, like that, what you just described, Ray, in Maine, I mean, that's amazing. You wake up, you weren't planning for it. And it's like, wow, you're more thankful for something like that, I think, when it happens.
Absolutely. The spontaneity is surprising. It's fun. It's exciting. But I can say, there are totally times, and this is definitely one of the downsides, I would say, where we're in an area and I just don't have the time to work it. Like I can see the potential and it's just like, for whatever reason, our schedule is causing us to have to go on. And that's why more so recently, we like to live more unscheduled, because if we get in an area and we see potential photographically, we can just say, you know what, fine, let's just stay here for the next week and let me try and work on this and see if I can get out there. But, because there are some shots that, and a lot of them that just require revisiting and learning your subject a little bit more, especially if it's a new subject I've never worked with, figuring out where they're going to spend their time, figuring out how the light's going to work in the morning versus the evening, all that stuff. When it's only spontaneous, you don't get to do any of that. You don't get to really dig in, And so while it's exciting and I do love that aspect of it, I still do like being able to stay. So a balance of both is really, I think, the most ideal.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's I find it a fascinating way of looking at things. Is just having that complete freedom
Yeah.
just to pretty much do what you want. I mean, we were talking before we started recording about how much your schedule is dictated by, because you still need to earn money, right? I mean, this is, you still need to make a living. So how much of your schedule is dictated by the need to, continue to fill the fill the financial, banks with the funds to continue the lifestyle?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the more I've done this, the more I've actually worked to transition that. I was pretty much 100% workshop based when I first started this. And then I as I started doing the van life thing and realizing like I want to travel more, I want to be out there more, I started realizing I want to see if I can convert some of my income to online based, because I can do that from anywhere. And now the more I have lived this way and realize how much I love it, the more I'm trying to work towards giving myself that freedom to be able to travel around. And so, just like we were talking before, I think I have 6 workshops scheduled for 2026.
Yeah.
That still makes, I would say, ballpark 70% of my yearly income. But the other big part of it is, other than when we're on the East Coast of the US, we don't pay to live anywhere other than the gas we put in our car. We really seek out and try to stay in legal public lands. We don't do the thing where we're trying to be stealthy and, get away with staying there. Like that's not for us. We've only, in 4 years of doing this, we've only ever gotten a knock on the door from the cops once from staying in a place that we weren't allowed to stay in. And that was only because the direction we drove in, we just missed the sign. Had we seen it, we wouldn't have stayed there. And they were cool. They just point us to the campground right around the corner. It was no big deal. But that's just not how we want to live. We don't want to live with that. You're always on edge trying to sleep, and screw that. So we do it in legal places, but it costs us nothing, right? We're not paying property tax. We're not paying, any of this kind of stuff. We're not paying standard utilities. Most of the places we go, especially out west, you get free places at the gas stations to empty the tanks and get fresh water. Wow. And so, all we're really paying for is gas. And when we slow our travels down and we're not nonstop driving, it's not that expensive, especially when we get to stay where we want to be. Instead of driving to where we want to shoot, we're just waking up and walking out of the van. It's incredible. Yeah. It really is. I can't understate how amazing it is.
Well, the one thing I've been wanting to ask you now for a while, you shoot more than anybody I know. Right? Anybody in wildlife photography, nobody shoots more than you. I'm convinced of this. How do you keep it fresh? Right? Because I always thought that would be a huge challenge. Like if I were out there shooting full time, how do I keep it fresh? Like what, I'm sure you have slumps where you
drives around and goes to different places, Josh.
That's it. That has made a big help. Yeah. No, that really has helped it. But before that, Josh, it was experimentation and new gear. That was definitely it. I still definitely have slumps for sure. Even now, I have slumps where I'm just not feeling creative and I feel like I'm producing the same stuff and nothing I'm doing is fresh. But that's the photographer curse, right? I don't know of anybody that it gets to escape that permanently. Yeah. But it's shorter. Those things don't last as long anymore because the next, a week from now, I'll be in somewhere new and seeing something I've never seen before. And a big part of it also is expectations that what we talked about earlier. And when you have no expectations, when you go into an area, you can only win. Like it's just only good, right? I'm not going in with, oh man, I really want to get this shot. Most of the time, honestly, when it's not workshop season, we're going to a place. We very rarely pick a place for bird photography. We pick places we want to go because they look beautiful and we want to check them out.
Oh, interesting.
And I rarely research like, oh, I wonder what wildlife or birds are going to be there. It's just like, oh, this seems like a beautiful place, part of the country we've never seen before. Let's go check it out. And guess what? There's always birds. There's always something around.
It's true. Yeah.
That was a question I was going to ask you is how do you decide where you're going next?
Yeah, it really is. We have an ongoing shared note between Emily and I that's just a list of a bunch of places that we want to go. and it's half of it is like we saw some random reel on Instagram, like that looks cool. Let's look it up. Oh, all right,
Wow.
put it on the list. Yeah, that it really is that. And we go to these areas and we'll just do a hike, and I'll maybe bring out the Z6 III with the 28 to 400 on it, right? Super tiny little portable thing. I just sling it with me and go. And if we get something cool, if not, that's fine. But if we get something and it's cool and we have time and I like it, then we stay. And then I start bringing out other gear and really trying to dig in and trying to make something really special with it. But to go back to the rest of your question, Josh, it's keeping it fresh for me is just always trying to consciously think of something new to do. And I don't mean new that I've never seen before. It can have been done before. I'm sure most of it's been done before, but I haven't done it. And so that's fresh,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And it does connect to buying new gear a lot, though.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know.
here
We've got
a gear tart.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten, a camera body in a couple of years now, so I'm well behind the curve.
I was going to say that for you is very unusual.
I know.
I don't do the camera thing often either. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, there hasn't been like exponential innovation to like keep jumping.
I don't think
right?
so.
Yeah, because you shoot your Z9.
The least important. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. What do we shoot with now? Z9 and Z8.
We have a Z9, a Z8, and a Z6 III.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're covered. You're covered by all bases with that. Yeah.
Yep. So I got the little tiny Z6 III, great camera, but it's like awesome. I put that thing on a sling with that 28 to 400. I don't even notice it there. I've done hikes for like 5 hours, and then I can shoot anything, right? 28 to 400. It's crazy.
Yeah. That is good.
It's still usable. Like it's decent, it's kind of amazing what this technology has done for the gear. But yeah, I think, Josh, the gear to me, or the camera, is the most unimportant part of it all. It's all about the experimentation with lenses. And for me, it's like getting the weird lenses, like the TT Artisan 250 millimeter donut bokeh lens. The underwater housing with the donut bokeh, or with the dome,
Yeah. I've seen some pictures you posted with that bokeh lens. That's pretty wild, actually. Yeah.
It is wild. Yeah. Frustrating as hell to shoot, but it's fun, And again,
is it autofocus, Ray, or does it
manual?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
How's the underwater thing going, or the housing thing
I
going?
love it. It's hard to find places to shoot with it. That's the biggest challenge. It's just severely limiting with places to go. I've been to 2 places, both being in Florida, where I felt like I can really make that thing work. But we are getting ready to go across the country again. I do think there's more potential, and it's just, finding these places where you can safely get in the water, be like due to predators or water conditions, or B, have water clarity that it makes even sense to get in there. That's that's actually the bigger challenge.
Have you tried in Louisiana, like in the in some of those bayous and stuff? I know you've shot down there. That might be, although getting the water clarity would be difficult, I would think. It's like
the clarity is going to be tough there, but we're getting ready to hit our only destination. Like I pick up Emily next week. She's in Costa Rica. We go to West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and then we're doing Texas. That's as far as we have planned. And we're going to Caddo Lake in Texas, the big lake with all the cypress trees and everything. We shot there last winter, but we missed the fall colors. So this time we're timing it to try and get there when the cedar trees or cypress trees are all transitioning.
Oh, that'll be nice.
And so you better believe I'm going to try that housing there for sure, if there's something that makes sense for it,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I've seen Max Stone do some stuff in and around underwater. I mean, you can get some amazing compositions in that environment.
Well, you know what the other thing is, and this is a big part of what's been helping keep it fresh too, is just having fun with it, man. And I got to say, getting in the water with your DSLR or mirrorless kit and not caring about getting it wet is the most freeing thing. It's like, it really reverts you to like a child. You're just like, wee, whatever, like I'm splashing around, like who cares? And it's just kind of wild to be able to do that. I mean, it still makes me smile every single time I do it, getting in the water with that kit.
It's been on my wish list for a while now to do something like that, because I live in an area where we've got 85% or something of the world's chalk streams within, like, a walking distance of my house almost, which means the water clarity here is it's just tap clear in a lot of the lakes that are around me. So that sort of half and half underwater type stuff would just be easy to do. Got the clarity to do it. I just need the equipment to do it. So that's kind of been on my list, which is why I asked, because I'm kind of interested.
I mean, go for it, Rob. It's so damn fun. It's so fun and challenging. Like, that's the other part of it. As soon as I share a couple of photos from it, right off the bat, every time I get messages like, "Oh, I've been thinking again." I'm like, be prepared. Number one, it's expensive to get this stuff. We all know that. Yeah. But number two, it is not easy to shoot. Every control on your camera is now way more cumbersome to shoot. So if you're going to do it, you should have, in my mind anyway, you should have an idea of how you can use it to create something unique. Because if you just simply want to do it to shoot the same stuff, save the money, make it easier to shoot, and just hold your camera low to the water, right? But there's got to be a reason to do it, And if you can make those unique shots where you can't get it any other way, then I think it's worth it, and it's worth the aggravation of fumbling through and shooting,
Yeah. Proximity to wildlife is a big deal with that too. I mean, especially if you're shooting birds, like if you go, underwater and you're shooting fish, you can get closer easier, I think. But I mean, you've got to be pretty close to some of these things in order to really make it work, I would imagine, right? Because you're shooting pretty wide on, I don't know what lens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My most used lens for the underwater split level stuff is 10 millimeter. So,
wow.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you got to be on top of it. We've been the first time Emily shot it, I'm watching her with a snowy egret 3 feet in front of her, and I'm like, oh, she's nailing it, right? And then we look at the photos, and it's like a speck. It's like, what happened there? You're on top of this bird. So yeah, you got to get crazy close. But the thing is, like, what I've learned from the little bit of and listen, I'm far from an expert on this, but the little bit of experimentation I've done with it is, if you zoom in too much, you don't see enough underwater, because unless you have even the most clear water, you're just not seeing that underwater scene. So you're only getting a little portion of it, and it's kind of not that compelling to me anyway.
So you have to contextualize it a bit more to,
So you need the wide,
Yeah.
but then you need the super friendly birds to get close. Or the other thing I really want to experiment, I haven't done it at all, right? But these Nikon cameras have the auto capture, right? Like basically the built-in photo trap. So I should, in theory, be able to put that camera, if I can anchor it partially submerged where I want, and then just walk away and let it shoot when the bird comes up. In theory, that should be incredible. Yeah. So I have some ideas of places in Hilton Head in the next couple of weeks. I want to try it. So
like some common perches where they're going to come out and set it up,
or even just what I've thought, Josh, like wading birds in the marsh, they work the edges. I can just go drop that thing right along an edge, walk away, and I could leave it there for 3 hours and just let them walk around and do their thing. And if they happen to walk
up eventually, right?
I would think so. And if they're like, imagine like if they're feeding right in front of it, especially like 10 millimeter, maybe I can see the bill in the water. I mean, the stuff that's in my brain is like,
if you're at 10 millimeter, you'll have room to crop and, screw around with the composition after, as long as they're there and they're close and you get something, that would be cool.
I have some shots that I haven't shared yet that I've shot in Florida Springs. I'm holding off for contests. I'll send them to you guys, but it's the underwater split level thing it's got some potential.
Oh yeah. It's been running through my brain. Every time you go out, you go, God, if I had a underwater housing, I could get it like this, and nobody shoots it like this. I mean, you see the half and half shots, but not, it's not mainstream, is it? It really isn't. I mean, it's
certainly not
far between.
And with birds, outside of the gannet thing and the kingfisher thing,
I was just going to think of the gannets. That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, with birds, it's very unusual. I have a GoPro. I've played around with it, but I think you really need the housing and the strap.
Yeah. I mean, Henley Spears, for example, has done some amazing stuff with diving cormorants. And
high key too, actually, which is different. Where most people go for the color. Yeah.
But it's not something that's been it's not something mainstream, that's for sure. So,
it's got room to grow.
I think so. Yeah, and the thing is,
it's understandable. Yeah, but it's like it's that barrier to entry, right? It's the
Yeah.
cost and the cumbersome nature, and who has the clear enough water and subjects that are friendly, right? There's a
And
lot of things kind of
and
working
who's
against it.
comfortable in getting into the water in the first place.
You're right.
That's a big barrier as well for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And I get it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
How many people do you see with 600s and tripods and they're dusting the camera off after 5 minutes? They are not getting in the water without. So, you know, you're right. It's probably like 5%, maybe even less than, you know, in terms of people who want to go in there.
And then I also think there's a lot of people that would think that it's fun to try and then get the stuff and realize this isn't for me. Like it's
way more
too much work.
than you think. Yeah.
Like the reward versus time is not going to be there, right? And that's where, you know, doing this full time, living the way I do, it's okay. I don't need it to produce every single time. I can just have fun trying, you know?
It's like pan blurring, right? You're going to get one every so often.
Same concept. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
But there's a lot of fun ideas in my head, that's for sure.
But that's what keeps it sort of fresh, isn't it? And real. I mean, going back to, you know, Josh's original question, I mean, it's, you know, that is what you need, I think, to keep you motivated, you know, to get
it's motivation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
You know, particularly
I feel like any of us, right? Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, no, particularly if you're I mean, you know, the other question I was going to ask you is if you're if you're focusing on one sort of taxa group, like, I mean, birds is your thing. I mean, what made you go down that particular road in the first place?
I grew up in New Jersey. There's nothing else.
I can answer this one, I think, for Ray too. I mean, we're in it's all birds.
I mean,
there's just very little else.
Yeah. Do you ever think of sort of expanding into, you know, and is there anything that really is tugging away at you, like, oh, I must go and shoot that, or, you know, I must get into mammals, or I want to do a bit of macro, I want to do some invertebrates or whatever? Does that ever really get you, or is it just birds for you?
I've had a blast in my travels photographing some of the mammals, right? So we get out west in the US here. I've had some great time in Glacier National Park with the mountain goats and the bighorn sheep. I've had the privilege of photographing doll sheep up in Alaska, bison, prairie dogs, like all these things. They are fun. I do really enjoy them when I get around to them, but I don't feel a strong draw. I never feel a draw to like really go and try that. It really is the bird thing. And I think it's twofold. I think the wildlife that I have photographed that's non-bird that I have fun with is relatively easy, you know? So it's subjects that are kind of acclimated to people, or they're just generally tame, or they're tiny and that kind of thing. I haven't really ever dug into the big, hard to find or dangerous stuff too much myself. And therefore it's like the wildlife that I have photographed hasn't presented much of a challenge. And the other stuff that would be challenging, I think I just don't know enough about it. And I really just don't have the desire to devote the time to learn and get good at it. It's just that time thing, right? It's just like, this is my only job, but I still don't have enough time to do all the things I want. And to get good at photographing dangerous or hard to find mammals is just going to be like, I feel like you got to go in all in on it.
It's its own thing, right? And I think you're kind of like me, Ray, where I'll photograph mammals if it's incidental to where I'm at. Like gnome is a good example. Muskox, go to Anvil Mountain. There, it's awesome. But I'm there for the birds, right? You're there for the birds, and it's just stuff that's there, and boom, you can shoot it.
Yeah. And it's always fun. It's always exciting when I do get the mammals, you know, it's a great time, but I haven't really sought them out, you know. I am in the beginning stages of potentially planning a bear trip with somebody in Alaska. So I might get a little bit more experience with that. And so maybe it'll change, but I don't know. There's also something to me with the dangerous animals, like the animals that can kill you. It feels creatively restrictive to me because you can't just get out and move around. And I'm so used to being able to just, oh, I want to go over here. I want that. That's the perspective I want. And I can just go and try and do it. Now, you know, of course, without scaring the wildlife and being respectful and all that. But in general, I don't have to worry about or fear for my life in doing that. And when you get around the stuff that can kill you, all of a sudden, that's no longer an option. And that feels in a way like stifling to me. But that's also because I don't know their behavior and I don't know how to work around them. And
it's a
so
more
I know
controlled
people that can.
environment. Yeah, you're on a deck at Brooks Fall. You know what I mean? You don't have that freedom to. Yeah, it is more restricted. You're right.
Yeah. So I think that's part of it too.
There is something about birds, isn't there? I mean, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know me. I mean, I've got a wide portfolio of stuff, and I don't just do birds, but you get when it comes down to it, if somebody said you've got to make a choice and you've got to photograph one group for the rest of your days, there would be no hesitation with me and say it's birds, because I'm like you. I think there's just that sort of challenging level it's higher, because these things fly away. The behavior is so varied, and I think and they are so varied as a group of animals. They're just so interesting, and I think that's you could spend a lifetime photographing them and not even scratch the surface of what's possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think we all have. All three of us
exactly.
Right here,
just scratch the surface.
There's a lot of species, but there's not too much, like beetles, right? I mean, there's enough out there where you're like, but it's not too much. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. And it is the thing that, like we were talking about earlier with the travel, I don't have to plan for it. I mean, it's rare for us to go anywhere and do a hike for any length of time and not cross a bird. It just happens. Now, it doesn't mean it's a good spot to photograph or a good encounter, but they're everywhere. They really are everywhere.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you. In the US, so a US species, something you haven't photographed and you've always wanted to.
That's a tough one.
This has to be hard to answer, right? Because you've been pretty much everywhere. But
that's the man who's photographed more than anybody else we know.
Ooh, species. You know what's easier to answer? A species I've encountered that I haven't gotten a good photo of.
Okay.
And that's the roadrunner. I really would love to spend time with that.
Something in my brain said he's going to say roadrunner here.
Really?
I don't know why. Yeah, I had this.
That's funny. I have real bad photos of them, but that would be something that I'd like to spend more time with, for sure. But I don't know, nothing. I gotta say, man, it's really interesting, guys. My bird photography has changed a lot in the past couple of years. I used to have sort of that drive for a list and stuff like that. And I really credit it to hanging around Emily more from her entire wildlife photography, career, as it were. And she doesn't do it professionally, but she's just always had a casual approach to it. And she really kind of taught me to like mellow out with it all and not have that crazy drive. But what's interesting is when it's always been more about the photo to me than the species. And when I see potential for something unique or something that I think can be really beautiful and different, I won't stop at anything, right? That's where the drive kicks right back in. I will go all in. I will do anything it takes to be uncomfortable, put the gear in danger, put myself half in danger to get that shot, try and figure it out. But I just don't have the same drive for, I really want to get this species, or I got to get this. Like, I don't have that birder kind of drive.
It's more about the art
in the same way
and just getting the image.
Totally is.
Do you think that's something that comes with age, when you get a little bit older and that sort of initial drive, that passion that you had for it's a list. I mean, we all started as listers, didn't we, really? And then that sort of dissipates over time, and you're just happy with whatever nature gives you.
I mean, I don't know. It might be an age thing, but I think I would guess it's a little bit more of a personality thing and what you connect with. Because I think you're right, Rob. Some people just really connect with that listing side of things and they go all in on that. And they're photographers and they're making amazing photos, but they're really about going just all over the world and just, I want to get the best photo of this and the best photo of this. Like, I totally know photographers that do that. And then there's the other side, which I think kind of connects more with the three of us, which is like the more art side of it. you know, and you just lean that way. I feel like there's kind of a split there when you've done this long enough.
Yeah, that hunting collecting thing kind of goes away. At least, like for me, it's gone away too. Especially the more you're out there, the more you shoot, the more success you have in the field, the less that desire is to put pressure on yourself. If you don't get, for me, it was started. Well, I went out and I bombed. I'm like, well, you know what? I've gotten something decent here before, so I don't care, right? And then it just builds and builds, and you get to that point. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Which is a great place to be, right? Like, because do you remember the days? I remember the days, guys, when I would go out and not get a good shot, and like, I couldn't find the beauty and the joy of the outing.
Yeah.
I missed it. And I was just, all I was focused on was that I didn't get something. And it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
It ruined it.
Talking to the birds, you know, to yourself, come on, turn, look at me. What are you doing? Like, no,
and it puts pressure on you the next time you go out. Do you think, well, I can't not come back with something this is what I do. And I think, you know, having sort of taking that pressure off yourself, like you've done, really, it's so liberating.
But it is also a weird balance of, I still want to push myself. I still want to try and capture something unique. I still want to share with the world something that's never been seen before, you know, or the same bird in a new light kind of thing. And I teach people, you know, so I'm like, you know, people are paying me to teach them to grow and learn and everything. And it's like, you want to do all that, and that requires a certain level of devotion, especially in the growing stage. But how do you balance that out? And I don't know I mean, I think the answer is different for everybody, but I do think being aware of it and trying to find that balance is key, because I've worked with and known too many photographers that put so much pressure on themselves that they just left. They just stopped. And they were great shooters, and they're not doing it anymore. And I think it's sad.
I've seen it too, Ray. And it's especially people who compare their work to others, and they feel like they're stuck or they're not going to, and they just psych themselves out, and it's a shame.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this, Josh, haven't we, in the last podcast, in fact. You know, is having this sort of level of pressure on you where you just creatively you dry up. Because you know, there's an expectation of you, you know, in my my situation is sort of, you know, you're involved in these photography competitions, and everybody's looking at you. Well, what the hell's he done? You know, what work is he do? You know, why is he judging my pictures when, you know, I'm taking better pictures than he is? So you have this sort of pressure on yourself to be producing work of a standard that, you know, people are going to look up to you and respect you in the position that you've adopted. So it's tough, and sometimes that can lead to, well, it's led me to just drying up, and now just doing it for myself, and it's just so much more enjoyable.
I find like a lot of photographers, especially now, there's so many more, and Ray, you know this too, it's a good thing. I think there's way more photographers out there than there's ever been, and it's going to just keep growing and growing and growing. Imitation is easy after a certain point in time. You have a lot of photographers, they pick up the technical pieces because it's not that hard technically, and then they'll imitate, they'll see things on Instagram, but it's finding your own vision, you know, your own voice in this. That seems to be the big standard for photographers. Some get over that and they develop their own vision. Others, they get stuck. That to me is the big hurdle for a lot of photographers nowadays. It's easy to imitate after you see so many things on social media, but how do you come up with your own vision in the field? And it's difficult.
And I think there's such a pressure with social media to have that quote unquote style so quickly. And it's like, guys, this took, I mean, you guys know, how many years did it take before you felt like you had your own developed style? And also, it probably never stays the same. It probably shouldn't. It's always morphing and changing and growing, you know. Like, I look back on the stuff I liked 5 years ago, and I'm not saying it's bad photography. It's still, I still am proud of it, but it's not what I am drawn towards anymore, you know, like in some ways. So it shifts and it changes, but like that pressure of, I got to have a style X, you know, so fast. I mean, it doesn't give you a chance to experiment and really see where you're going to go with it.
I don't ever really see myself as having a style. It's funny.
Or being okay with that, right?
Yeah, and I'm completely fine with that. I don't
totally.
but the funny thing is that I think I posted something on Instagram the other day, and I had a comment saying, "Oh, before I even saw who took this picture, I knew it was you." And it's
Isn't
like,
that the
well,
best comment,
so
though?
that's a bit, you think, oh, well, maybe I have got a style, I don't know, or maybe I just photograph the same things all the time.
Well, and I mean, that honestly can be part of it, right? It doesn't have to be necessarily a visually recognizable style, right? It can be a subject that you know intimately and are able to create an incredible portfolio of, like that can be part of the style. Like there's so many ways to have a quote unquote style, I think. And I also think the best way to develop it is to let it evolve naturally, however long that may take.
Yeah, well said.
And people move through quick. I mean, like you said, Ray, years ago, I mean, it was a longer progression for people. I see so many people now. I mean, they're excellent. What I would say excellent. And then I started in 2021 or during the pandemic. I'm like, oh my God, right? So it's changed, and maybe because there's more people and they're just quick learn. I don't know, but people learn a lot quicker than they used to in this field, I think.
Yeah, I do think it's also tied to how much knowledge is out there now, how much knowledge is shared freely, which is a good thing. Again, right? I think it elevates everybody. It pushes everybody, That's how I see it anyway.
I only had the Artie Morris bird. What was that book he had years ago? The Art of Bird Photography. Yeah. That was pretty. Or the friends you had, you would exchange pictures and stuff like that. But there's a bigger community now, so that helps.
Yeah, like when I first started, Flickr was the only social media. That was the only photo sharing website when I first started. And there was very few people compared to what are on, photo sharing sites now. It was very small community. And, like to see anybody shooting in your own area was like a miracle back then,
This is true. Yeah. Is Flickr even still
now you go to a popular spot and it's
there's 30 people. Yeah.
Without a 600 million.
Yeah. That's another part of the keeping it fresh for me too, is even in areas I've been, right, is just putting in that extra effort. Josh, you were familiar because we've shot that area before, but I just told you guys before we started recording, I recently went to this spot off the Jersey coast, and it requires getting in a kayak and paddling out, and then you're knee deep to waist deep in the water to work with and get to some of these birds. I've never seen another photographer out there other than the ones I brought, because of that like extra effort that's required to get out there. And so that's another thing that's been a big part of like keeping it fresh for me sometimes, is just putting in that little bit of extra work to get to that place that most people aren't going to go.
Yeah. I mean, does that sort of, do you enjoy those trips or those experiences more when you're completely disconnected from anybody else and you're just there on your own or with Emily or whatever, but there's just the one or two of you there and there's nobody else around? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. That solitude is a thing that we both seek out quite often. I had a great experience in Nome. I spent a month up in Nome this year, and I set it up that way so I could do one-on-one workshops with people and take one person out, just because of it was a big part of it is that's the way I wanted them to experience that place. I didn't want to have a whole group of photographers where we're all trying to shoot the same thing at the same time. And I'm not trying to knock anybody that does that, right? But it's just a very different experience. And I think the best compliment was this one woman that joined me. She's been all over the world. She's been to Antarctica, and she said, I feel more remote here than I did in Antarctica, right? Because they were in there. She was on a boat with 100 people that all got off at the same time and stuff like that. Yeah, and so like those experiences, just connecting with nature in that way, and that's what I love so much about this van is just I almost always have the doors open because we migrate like birds. We follow the warm weather everywhere. And so it's always mostly nice out. And so we have the fresh air coming in, and like, it's another thing that I never thought of this as being a part of why I love living in this van so much, is just that, when I had a home, I sat inside in the air conditioning, and it's comfortable and but you don't smell outside. You don't hear outside. You're like less connected. There's a barrier there. And I gotta say, man, like having that reintroduced at this stage of life and being able to just feel so connected with nature in this way, it is such a freaking wonderful thing. Completely aside from the photography, but it really does help the photography.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I totally get it. So do you think that sort of shapes your decision as to where you go next, and your plans is to seek out that solitude?
Absolutely. Yeah. Even when we want to go see the popular place, we're trying to go off season, right? We're trying to go on the weekdays. Like one of the best examples of that I love to share is we went to Arches National Park in southern Utah. Very, very famous national park here. We went on a weekday morning, well before sunrise. We started hiking in an hour before sunrise, headlamps and everything. We had this entire hike to ourselves. We summit out onto this lovely plateau with a 360-degree view of all the red rock and everything. Not a soul around. By the time we walked back to the parking lot, where we were the only car that pulled up that morning, there's 150 cars there, and we're just passing stream after stream of person coming in, right? And while we were back there, there was ravens flying around. I got to shoot ravens like small in frame with nobody in the background, nobody around to scare them and stuff like that. And it's just like these little things that you can do to just get that solitude, and it feels so different. And it's like, I'm sure, have you guys ever had this? You're in a place, it's amazing, it's all quiet, and then one other person walks in and it just changes it. Yeah. It changes how it feels, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah. 100%.
And they could be quiet. They could be not making a noise. Just that other person being there changes it.
Yeah.
And you feel less connected to nature directly. It's so weird how that works.
It sounds really selfish, doesn't it, when you start talking in terms like that? But no, you're absolutely right. It's just that one other person being there. It almost ruins it at times.
In a way. And like I said, they could be doing nothing wrong, right? They could be not making a noise, not being obnoxious, not even talking to you, but just them being there just changes how it feels. And it feels to me, and maybe it's just me, but to me, it feels less special somehow, right? There's something special when it's just you and the space, the natural space.
Yeah. I mean, well, let me ask you, Ray, of all the places you've been, of course, everybody knows the famous spots, right? The spots that people go to and the spots where they shoot. I mean, what, in your opinion, we were talking about incidental shoots, just coming across areas and shooting before, but what's the best discovery that you've had so far over these past couple of years in terms of locations that you would have never thought otherwise?
Oh, now you're going to make me share it so everybody goes?
I was going to say, he's not going to
share your third or fourth favorite, right?
Totally, no, it's totally fine. This place called Bisty Badlands in New Mexico. And we stumble upon it in the way that this happens quite often. We're driving from point A to point B. We've decided a random other destination we're going to. And along the way, Emily's just pops on the map and just looks around and sees what shows up. And this showed up. And we go there, and this is another one of these great places where for free we can stay as many days as we want. And it truly, like nothing else I've ever seen, feels like you're on another planet. All these crazy, weird Badlands rock formations that are all worn by water, like those sort of the rocks that go up and then almost like mushroom out, and they're like these floating, they almost look like flying saucers still connected.
Hoodoos or something they're called, aren't they?
Yeah, hoodoos. That's it. Yeah, exactly. Right. All these crazy shapes and colors and textures. And the first time we stopped there, I mean, could not find much of anything for birds. There were some horned larks that were crazy skittish. I ended up getting a decent chance with some, oddly enough, eastern cottontail. It's still eastern cottontail way out there, which I didn't know, but that was kind of fun. And then we went back a second year later and spent more time, specifically just to kind of be there more, and ended up finding rock wrens and ravens and stuff like that. And the time of year we've been there, it's been very little wildlife, but I mean, talk about a playground. And from my style of small in frame and everything like that. And there's actually a video on my website, so that shows me shooting there.
Where is it, Ray? Is it up in the mountains? Is it like north of Bosque, or is it like closer up by?
You know what? I've
done Bosque and I've done White Sands, right? Those are the kind of the main, the main.
Yeah. So it's definitely north of all of that. I would say. I
Okay.
know it's definitely north of White Sands, and
Okay.
I'm just like pulling it up right now. I'm trying to see like if there's
That's
the
an
nearest.
under photographed state. Not a lot of, well, outside of, I guess, Bosque's famous, but I mean,
Yeah.
not a lot of people shoot.
Yeah.
They'll go to Arizona, right? That's way more popular.
Totally, yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like this is what's happened to us a lot in these travels is when we're not prioritizing finding birds and wildlife, we end up in these crazy beautiful places that turns out have some birds, you know? And so we're photographing this stuff where I've never heard of, you know, where it's not popular to go for bird photography because, you know, granted, it's probably not like the most amazing opportunities, but all you need is one bird sometimes, and you can turn it into something. You know,
the environment's part of the show too, right? Yeah. So it's
absolutely, yeah.
And the thing is, I guess the popular spots, they tend to be where people know they can get close, because there is this draw, I think, for the majority of photographers to want to fill the frame still. So a lot of the popular places, certainly here, and I know some of the spots that you guys are talking about, are where you can get those opportunities. So that's where you're going to get the majority drawn to, A, because you know they're well known, and B, you know that they're giving you these amazing opportunities. Whereas if you're out in areas where birds aren't as accustomed to seeing people, it's more difficult to get close, right? So you need field craft, number one, or you need to shoot in a different way. Which, you know, for you, Ray, I know, you know, you do a lot of environmental stuff, you know, small in the frame type stuff, which for me, you know, it's far more interesting to be able to develop your style. If you know, we're saying you use that word again. You know, it's far more difficult to be able to pull those elements together and get a cohesive shot than just a straight on portrait where you're just filling the frame and you're giving no context.
Yeah, but it is also easier when you start in beautiful places. And that's something I've talked about a lot on my show is just if you go to a beautiful place, then anything that shows up in it, you've done half the battle. You know, like if it's already just amazing to look at and you're interested in including the habitat in your wildlife photography, well, there you go, you know? And to your point, Rob, I think so much of going to the popular, well-known place makes a lot of sense, right? A lot of people don't get to travel as much. They maybe get the one trip a year, right? And they want it to photographically count. And so I get that mentality. I certainly don't fault anybody for wanting to go where you're almost all but guaranteed of getting a good photo. But I would also say to everybody that's doing it, think about why you're doing it. You know, is it just because you want to get the same photo as that you've already seen? And if so, then sure, that's the place to go. But if you want to just explore and experiment and give yourself a chance to come up with something that's unique, go anywhere. You know, just open up your horizons and give yourself that opportunity to maybe have photographic failure, but explore somewhere amazing anyway. And that's the win in the end.
But failure teaches you much more anyway than success.
Yeah.
So many times.
Does.
And I think it's conditioned in us, the whole exploration piece, right? That hunting gatherer, you know what I mean? People love that. I mean, going out, seeing new things, it keeps it fresh. So yeah, I totally get where you're coming from on that, Ray. And I'm sure most people would too, right? Photographers, they don't want to go to the same place over and over again. And getting a guaranteed shot's great, but the experience has to count too. And I think when you run workshops, I'm sure that's a huge thing for your participants. Not only do they want that shot, they want that experience, right? Whether it's Nome or, you know, some of these other places.
Yeah, that's at some point I realized that was what I was getting more joy out of, and I really transitioned to making all of my workshops to be that. I want them to be an amazing experience, even if you don't walk away from with a photo. Now, obviously, that's that's not going to happen, right? Like, we're working hard to get the photo, but like, I think both of you guys are. I know at least you've been down to like the tropics and stuff like that, right? Down into those areas. I feel like those are the best example of like if you go down there, the guaranteed shots are always at the feeders, right? Like these feeder stations and the setups, and you're getting the same birds, probably the same individuals sometimes, on the same backgrounds from the same perspective. But if you go down there and try and shoot without those, it's a nightmare. I mean, it is so hard, but it's so fun if you're okay with doing, like, if you're okay with that, those set expectations ahead of time, right? Which I get, not everybody is. So, I don't know. I think more photographers would have more fun if they would just give themselves a little bit of freedom on not capturing the shot every time.
Yeah. Because I think there's a certain point to say that in certain aspects of it, it's become very homogenized. It's like, you can go to the same city. It's like you go to the same city and all the shops are the same. And it's a bit like that with photography. Everybody comes away with the same or very similar photographs because they're doing exactly the same thing, because it's exactly the same setup. And it's not me. It's not. And as we've said before, because Josh and I have talked about this, it's whatever anybody wants to do is fine. As long as you're being respectful to the wildlife, and you're not, and there are no sort of negative consequences for you doing it. It's fine, because photography is there to be enjoyed, right? It's whatever you want to do, whatever pleases you. But that's not for me, because that doesn't please me very much. I like, you two, I like to go out and like to do my own thing. I like to, find my own path. And that's the fun of it. That's the of it.
Yeah, and I think I would assume most people are listening to this show because they admire you guys and your photography and what you're doing with it, and it's because it stands out and it's unique in a way. It's not because it is just the same thing that everybody's seen, right? And going to those popular places is an easy recipe for sameness. It really is, So if you're, for anybody listening that is looking to, travel and do trips and stuff like that, and just experiment away, I can't recommend it enough. And again, I mean, I can count on one hand the number of random hikes that I've done where I wasn't even trying to photograph something and I didn't stumble upon some opportunity. Yeah. If you're a bird photographer, there's always something out there.
Yeah. And your eyes are open to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Actually, do you find that the more you do it, the easier that then becomes?
I do. And I got to say, Rob, I really credit my years as a wedding photographer as a big part of being able to assess a scene quickly, assess light quickly, and do it under kind of pressure, because it doesn't get much more pressure photography than like wedding photography. And you're thrown into these scenes in light that you don't want to be there in, and a location you've never been. And all of a sudden, just like in a matter of seconds, you got to decide, this is where we're going, this is what's going to work, and I got to make it happen. And in the beginning, it was like crippling pressure, like sweating all day, just beet red face, but 10 years in, never stressed, just so confident and comfortable and able to do that. And I really do credit my ability to be able to go into a place I've never been before and then have an encounter with birds or wildlife and just being able to capitalize on that quickly and seeing that potential. And of course, just like anything you do, the more you practice it, the better you get at it.
Yeah. I suspect, Ray, correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably more rewarding to work in the field with one photographer. You mentioned in Nome, you did individual.
Yeah.
You have a lot more flexibility. You can, play with whatever the client's desires are versus having a group where, it's a little bit, I don't want to say lowest common denominator, but you're trying to please multiple people at the same time in terms of the shoot and what's up there.
Absolutely. And it's kind of interesting how my business has sort of in a way come full circle. I started my business in Southern New Jersey during COVID times with one-on-one outings because that's what we could do, right? I could take one person out into nature. We could stand, an appropriate distance apart. Everybody was safe and people were looking for a thing to do. They wanted to get out and explore. And I grew my business on that because that was a little bit of a approach than the standard, destination group workshop kind of thing. And then I started doing destinations and kind of realized, well, really the only way to do them is kind of in a group, make it profitable. It's costly, it's expensive to go to these places. And then last year, well, my decision to go to Nome and do a workshop there was what precipitated it. I thought to myself, that's the way I really want people to experience it. That's the way I feel like I can deliver the best product, the best experience there, and get them the most photographic opportunity. Because of course you can do so much more when it's just me and one person stealthily crawling around than a group of people. Absolutely. We can get closer to subjects. They're not, the subjects are going to have less fear. And just like you said, Josh, we get to tailor it to whatever they're the most interested in, which is also great. And so I just said to myself, you know what, let me try. The price is going to have to be higher, far higher, almost double the price of anything I had charged before. But I have confidence in this. I feel like it's going to work. And I put it out there and it sold out in a week, And now I've actually switched my Great Salt Lake workshop to the same thing. I've done groups there in the past, but I felt like that's a place where, a group thing is more challenging. It's not the same experience as when I've been there just me and Emily and photographing. And so I've transitioned to that. Hawaii, it's a seabird workshop. Newfoundland, it's a seabird workshop. Seabirds don't care. You can have 50 people there dancing and screaming. They're like, hey, whatever.
Yeah.
So those places are still fine to do the group thing, and I'll still do the group there. But these other experiences, I've sort of transitioned them back into doing the private thing. And I'm able to command a higher price now to be able to do it, because that's what's required. Because you've been to Nome, what like the hotels cost there, like everything is.
Yeah. And driving Nome is, speaking of vans, driving when the roads get wet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty scary actually.
Yeah. But it's great to see people are willing to spend the money with me, willing to take that chance. And then having gone through it with them and getting to see their experience and hear about their experience, they're all just like, yeah, hands down. Like they straight up all said, that was the best workshop I've ever done with you. Some of them have been on 15 different things with me, So it kind of let me know, like, I'm heading in the right direction with that.
Yeah. What's the most pleasing thing you think that people take away, or when you hear people speak, when you've given a workshop, what's the most pleasing thing to hear them say that they've taken away from the workshop?
Two parts of it. The first part is the experience, like that they just had an amazing experience that they wouldn't have done on their own, right? So I was able to facilitate this incredible visit to an amazing place and encounters with wildlife. And then the second part is that they learn something awesome that they get to take with them and continue to push their photography. And those are the two things, like those are the kind of the two tent poles for me with what I design for my workshops, or what I desire for them to be, is let's have an amazing experience. And I want you to learn something new that you've never done before, or at least push what you're doing further.
Yeah. So it's giving the experience and giving them the inspiration to go and continue. Yeah. No, I completely get it. I completely get it.
Totally fulfilling. Yeah.
I bet.
I think that's, for me, with the stuff that I've done, with the competitions and everything, that's what I've enjoyed the most, actually, is the inspiration that you then provide for others and their own journeys. I think there's, you can't buy that.
Yeah.
You just can't buy it.
It's rewarding.
Ray, what's next for you? Where are you off to next?
West Virginia. We're going to do New River Gorge. We've never been. Always wanted to check it out. Seems like a cool area. So we're just going to stop there for a couple days. Then on to North Carolina. We're going just around Asheville, and that's all for mountain biking. So we'll do some mountain biking there, but same kind of thing. There's always cameras here in the van. So if something's
great color, probably, but at that, if you're leaving, I would imagine. Yeah.
That's the plan. Yeah. And then we're doing a Hilton Head stop right after that, just so we can do some photography there, because we haven't been there in a while, and just love the shorebird game there. And then it's all kind of time to get us into Caddo Lake in Texas, right around when that's starting to transition, which should be like the first week in November. And then after that, we don't know. We know we want to head to LA, where Emily has family. So that's like the end destination, maybe by the holidays kind of thing, or like Christmas. But in between those, like November to the end of the year, we're just gonna wander around the Southwest and maybe up into California.
If you don't mind me asking, Raina, processing on the road? I'm curious about this just really quickly. So I know you've got like a really good routine in terms of processing, and you go through so many images, and you've talked a lot about this. That Apple Vision Pro, is that what it's called? Do you still use that to process, or have you gone back to like the laptop and whatnot? Because I saw some videos, I'm thinking, interesting. And if you're on the road, it just like, I don't know, it seems pretty expansive. But anyhow, I just wanted to pick your brain on that. Are you still doing that?
Yeah. Unfortunately, no. And here's why. It's isolating, right? And so you're in there, and I can't share images with Emily. You know, like we're in such a close space, and she's an amazing photographer. I really respect her opinion. So I can't get to do that in the moment of like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So it definitely is limiting. And then the other piece of that puzzle is this new van. After about a year in here, I realized we have enough power. I can finally get a big monitor again. And so, you know, I've got a second 27-inch, 5K display hooked up here that I run all the time. And it's the Apple monitor with that really good anti-glare on it. So even with all the light coming in, it just kills all the glare. And so the color and clarity out of that is amazing. And so that has caused me to just use that screen more. But every time I do look at my photos in that Vision Pro, I'm just like, it blows me away. It really does.
Yeah, it looks wild. I mean, you were sitting outside, and you were able to show it. It's it would take a lot to get used to it, I would think, right? Or no, I don't know.
It does. I think it needs two things to make me want to use it more. One, it would have to get a little bit lighter on the head. It is a little uncomfortable after extended period of use. And then two, the blacks in it are just too weak. They're too, like, the blacks aren't black.
Like a gray point kind of thing. It's like further.
Exactly, right? Yeah, it's just further. And so for color accurate stuff in there, I mean, it shows shadow detail like crazy, but if I were to adjust something in there and then look at it on my really good screen, it's going to be, the contrast is hammered too far, and it just looks a little too punchy for my taste. So it prevents me from doing fine tuning in there. But I gotta say, just to sit down and cull with it and just like see your photos with, and I'm not exaggerating, when it looks like a 40-foot photo floating out in front of you, you have to experience it. You really do.
I was intrigued when I saw your video showing it, and wow.
It's incredible. I really hope that technology at least progresses and doesn't just disappear, because it seems like from all the, I love the tech stuff too, and all the rumors I follow, it seems like everybody's heading towards these more glasses kind of experience where you can see through. And for the photography, that would be horrible, because it's not light controlled, and you're not like, you're just going to be, you're never going to see a photo clear that way. Yeah, I don't think anyway. But that sort of get in the goggles thing and be able to sit outside in full bright sunlight and see your photo like clear as day, 40 feet in front of you. It's like amazing.
That was a bit of a transition, wasn't it, from talking about Prince right at the start to
Vision Pro.
The Vision Pro.
It is. Yeah, it's like the ultimate print is what it's like, Yeah, I've never seen my photos that scale, and the sharpness, like it already has that. It's already sharp enough and clear enough. Like it's got the resolution. It just needs a little bit of tweak on the color, and then just to be lighter weight, and also not cost $30.
If it's not resolving the blacks correctly, and you can process something and you post it, and people are like, yep,
that would not be good. But I would love for at least some version of that technology to become the mainstream way everybody views photos, because it would be a way, like, even if it is the glasses thing, right? It's now a way to project a photo to appear larger again.
Yeah,
and
versus
instead of this shrunken down trend that we're taking all these amazing photos on these insane resolution cameras, and then everybody views it on their phone like vertically, so it's smashed down even more. It's just so sad to me. It's sad. It really is.
I agree.
We should have a discussion about that, shouldn't we? Where's technology going? And how are we going to view photos in the future? Because
I just hope photos are in demand at some point, right? Everything's going to be, to your point, right? I think everything's going to be more spatial, right? Versus flat, versus looking at screens. It's going to be these interactive virtual environments. I mean, maybe it'll be interactive gallery, right? You walk into the photographer's gallery and then just everything's on the wall. I don't know. Yeah.
Josh, it's no joke with this Vision Pro where it's at right now. You can actively put a photo and pin it to what appears to be an actual wall in
Wow.
your space that you're in, right? And you walk around into another room in your house and then come back and the photo's still hanging right where you left it. Like, so it's kind of there right now, right? It's just
Wild.
too expensive and heavy. But there's no way to describe it until you actually try it. I urge everybody, go do an experience in an Apple store. Like, as far as I know, you can do them for free. You can just like sign up and go check it out. They'll show you the photos, they'll walk you through. It really transformed like my ideas of what can potentially happen down the road. And I really hope it goes that way, because it would just be the most wonderful thing to be able to go large again and to really appreciate all this amazing photography that's out there. Because it's just, we're not getting to appreciate it. We really aren't, you know? And
Best way, I think, are books, and that might be, you know, that'll get people to actually look at books in a virtual space or
right.
Space. And
I know. Yeah.
And we'll no longer be able to get away with the heavy crops, though. That's the thing.
Too funny.
Anyway, Ray, it's been really good to chat. We could go on all night. You know, I just
absolutely
find it fascinating. So many things I wanted to ask you. We haven't got around to. Maybe we'll have to get you back again and
sounds like a plan.
Another chat.
Happy to do it.
You know, obviously you run your own podcast and YouTube channel and everything else. Let people know where they can where they can find you and listen to all that stuff.
RayHennessy.com is the easiest thing. Yeah, just hit my website. It's all collated there. Like, you can find it all there, one spot. I share all the stuff, you know, no matter whether it's photo, video, audio, new photos there every single day. Yeah, tons of free content to learn from there. That's the place to go. Okay, well, we'll put a link in the show notes, obviously, but yeah, to all your Instagram and all that sort of stuff as well. So, yeah, Ray, thanks so much for coming on. As I said, it's been a really interesting discussion. So we shall have to do it again. That is for sure. I hope we get to do it again, definitely, and we're going to reciprocate. I'll get you guys on my shows as well. Yeah, this is fun. I love talking with you guys. Yeah, thank you so much.
Enjoy your travels too. Looking forward to that. I bet that's.
I always do.
Yeah.
Be interested to see where you end up next. Same for me. I have no idea sometimes, which is great. And that's the fun of it. Ray, thank you so much. It's been a really good discussion. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch up with you again next time.
Thanks all.
You have been listening to the Wildlife Photography Podcast. If you have enjoyed the content, then please help us to spread the word by sharing a link on your social media platforms, giving us a like, and leaving us a comment. See you all again next time.